Let's start with a simple question. Why is Aurora's mayor pushing a homeless camping ban tonight if the experts say they don't work? Preventing the next pandemic could be as fundamental as changing the air we breathe, especially indoors. The search for a new leader of Colorado's largest school district is not going so hot.
Why wouldn't they focus on the largest demographic in this district?
Latino and Black leaders call for Denver's school board to start over. And you posed a smart question. If vaccinations don't last forever, how long till we're back in masks again? We're just starting to get to see smiles. All that is next. It is tough to find anyone who would call Denver's homeless camping ban a success outside the people who are paid to convince you of that. Yet Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman is introducing a similar camping ban for his city tonight. His conclusion after a week of pretending to be homeless for a TV news story was that homelessness is a choice. Our Marshall Zellinger takes a look at the impact of camping bans in the cities that have them.
One night each January, the Metro Denver Housing Initiative counts the number of people experiencing homelessness.
The COVID pandemic, we're confident, made it worse.
Matt MEYER is the executive director and explained that the one-night snapshot did not take place this year. But here is what the survey found in previous years. In 2020, there were 996 unsheltered people in Denver on that one night in January, 554 in 2019. Camping bans exist in Denver, Boulder, Centennial, and Parker.
In many of communities with camping bans, we've seen those numbers continue to increase. The unsheltered numbers continue to increase despite the ordinances.
Today, Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman detailed his plan for a city camping ban. It would first start with a warning and an offer to move someone to a shelter before issuing a citation. Last year, Kaufman posed as a homeless veteran for a week, even spending one night on a Denver street. He was not cited, and honestly, it's rare for anyone to be cited in Denver. Denver police have issued just 33 citations from 2012 to April of 2019. We're still waiting for more recent statistics.
You have to ask yourself in Denver, what would it be if there were no camping ban? I mean, how would the problem be much more extensive than it currently is? And I believe it would be.
In Boulder, the one-night snapshot of unsheltered people was 118 in 2020, 53 in 2019, and 158 in 2018. Compare the number of unsheltered people to the citations issued by Boulder police in those years. A Boulder City spokeswoman tells me the 255 citations last year is down because officers were directed to limit close interactions with people suspected of misdemeanors because of COVID-19.
It's a matter of what that community's priorities are, what priorities have been given to law enforcement. Well, one community may not have many citations. You can't assume that that means they don't have an unsheltered population. It may be that that unsheltered population isn't that visible, so the community isn't as concerned about it.
I mentioned two other cities with camping bans. Parker police have issued 2 warnings since that city's camping ban took effect 3 years ago. 3 citations in Centennial, but Centennial's ban is only on city-owned property. This whole talk about the Aurora proposal, though, Kyle, is moot until the City Council starts debate because City Council needs to approve it first.
And important for folks to remember that Mike Kaufman is the mayor of Aurora. He's not the king of Aurora, and he's not even a strong mayor system like you have in Denver. He doesn't have that kind of power out there. So, Marshall, if this isn't about something that may immediately become law or ordinance in Aurora, could it possibly just be a red meat campaign issue while city council elections go on there?
Yeah, and I believe if my count is correct, I want to say 3 or 4 council seats are up this next election. So this could be the thing that is being talked about by the council members that could then sway whether or not it becomes law in Aurora.
Yeah, we see this a lot in politics. It's agenda setting. This is what we want to talk about during the campaign. Marshall, thank you. The ambush shooting of a Lincoln County Sheriff's deputy this morning led to a manhunt and the shutdown of 60 miles of state highway for hours. Deputy Michael Hutton was shot at least twice, but he is expected to recover. His colleagues shared this thumbs-up photo from his hospital bed in Denver this afternoon. Deputy Hutton was investigating a report of a theft on Highway 40 just outside Lyman when this happened. Truck driver parked at a highway turnout, heard noise around 3 a.m., spotted a man stealing from the back of a semi. Investigators say within seconds of the deputy responding and getting out of his car, he was shot several times. The hunt for the suspect was made a lot tougher out on the plains this morning by really dense fog, and that is one reason why they shut down 60 miles of highway through a busy stretch for semis.
The scene involved part of Highway 40, and because of the long stretches of roadways in eastern Colorado, that was some of our only exit that we could get people safely on an adequate roadway to close it off in certain places so that the roadway was good enough for a lot of our commercial vehicle traffic. So you do see a big closure, but it's so that everybody's safe and we have good detours en route.
The suspect was found dead about 7 hours later. His body was in a field not far from where the deputy was shot, and investigators say it looks like the suspect killed himself. The investigation of a Space Force commander in Colorado is headed up the chain. Not quite to space, but it's moving in that direction. The Department of the Air Force Inspector General is now looking into the actions of Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer. He is no longer in charge of the 11th Space Warning Squadron out at Buckley after he published and promoted a book suggesting that the American military is pushing Marxism. And he said that diversity training is divisive. A Space Force spokesperson told us that he had been relieved of command because of a loss of trust and confidence in his ability to lead. The Democrats who control the state capitol right now have backed off of their bill that would change the way that police are allowed to break up protests in Colorado. So the plan was to force officers to distinguish between violent people in the crowd and those who are there to protest peacefully. After pushback, that requirement was watered down into a study. Here's the bill's sponsor explaining why.
If we're trying to change culture, if we're trying to change behavior and responses, the best way to do that is to get buy-in from the people whose behavior we're trying to change. And we're not going to do that with a directive from the state legislature that, frankly, is pretty hard to follow.
Often these let's study the issues come back in future years as concrete proposals. So, together we've been building that list of things that we would like to keep from the pandemic time, those that we want to get rid of. Not sure that our get rid of list included air, like the air we breathe inside. There are researchers at CU Boulder who want us to get serious about regulating indoor air quality like we do the food and the water we put into our bodies. Here's Anusha Roy.
A global pandemic requires a global conversation about air quality.
Spain, Netherlands, UK, Singapore.
Researchers like Professor SHELLY Miller from CU Boulder know all of a sudden a lot of people started paying attention to the air we breathe when we realized how COVID was spreading, especially inside.
So we're asking people to consider shifting their paradigm and treating shared air in public buildings and even your home like we do water quality. In occupational settings, it's done, but not in public spaces.
What would that entail exactly?
Some government entity, whether it's the city, the county, the state, or even the federal government, to provide standards that we are supposed to meet in our buildings.
Miller said in the same way air pollution outside is monitored, what about paying attention in the same way inside so people know when to adjust their ventilation?
Is the issue that we don't have that same level of monitoring for things like viruses and bacteria?
I would even say that hardly any buildings are monitoring anything. Now people are starting to monitor CO2 because we've been saying this is a good surrogate for understanding occupancy and ventilation.
Would this require huge changes within buildings and expensive changes within buildings to monitor this?
I actually think the changes would not be as huge as, say, when we all decided that we needed to implement sewer systems in our cities. Now we have low-cost air quality monitors. We understand ventilation in buildings.
We chatted with our legal expert about the feasibility about regulating air inside places. And he said that if we ever get to that point, right, we're a ways away from that, he could see the priority being on bigger public spaces with more people inside. And then if we ever got to talking about homes, that it could fall under the category for rules and regulations like we see for electrical work or for plumbing work. But that's a lot of debates away. To him, what makes the most sense at this point is finding the resources, Kyle. and then opening it up to people and businesses and saying, hey, you can opt in to control the air and keep an eye on it and work at it that way.
The analogy to sanitary sewers is really interesting, Anusha, because you think about something that was a massive societal undertaking, but then had enormous benefit in the end for people's public health. On the idea of changing our indoor air, seems like another huge undertaking, but yet we know that there was some movement in that direction, at least over the last year.
Yeah, definitely. And we've been seeing that. Like, if you look at the Denver Public Schools, they've been investing in their HVAC system. They've got this pilot air filtration system they're testing out right now. CDPHE said that they're on the lookout for new tech, and they want to share that with businesses as well as schools to help them out. And we're hearing about individual businesses, Kyle, working on this as well. I did reach out to a couple of business organizations saying, you know, is this a bigger conversation? What is the cost here? Because we know it's been a rough year. And they said, frankly, at this point, it's just a little too early for them to be weighing in.
And homes like mine, where now when we have visitors over, we're cognizant about throwing open all the windows we can. Thank you, Nusha. I've been tempted to say that I'm sick of the rain, and then I saw the pure magic it has done on the drought in parts of Colorado. His students have been out of the classroom, stuck at home till now.
It's really nice to be able to teach kids science while also teaching them real-world science skills. So
he's been taking care of the class's pet fish, and there were a ton of them. COVID immunity from the vaccines does not last forever. A smart next viewer asks, how long will our maskless freedom last? The answer, next. Denver School Board just wrapped up public feedback on the 3 superintendent candidates, and the feedback they're getting from a group of education advocates is, how about none of those people? A group of 40 Latino and Black community leaders want the interim superintendent to stay on for another year while the board finds new candidates that they think would be a better fit for a diverse district.
Unfortunately, our community continues to graduate at the lowest rates in the district. That is why it is so important. That's why it's paramount that we have a superintendent that is both bilingual, biliterate, and understands our community and our culture here in the Southwest.
The school board has defended its finalists as the next big names in education. The leader of the largest school district in Colorado is expected to be picked by July. Tonight's next question comes to us from Sarah.
Now that the vaccinated can remove all masks, I guess my big question is for how long? I got my second shot the end of February, so 6 months time frame would be up the end of August. So how long am I protected?
Good question, Sarah. We took it to Dr. Michelle Barron, UCHealth's go-to infectious disease expert.
We know that right now, 6 months appears to be the duration of protection, but you may not need protection if the rates are really low. Like your protection could go down and the rates are low, and you might still be able to get away without wearing a mask, or they could skyrocket, and then now your protection that was at 95% is maybe at 80%. And so a lot of this comes back to your own individual risk and your level of comfort on whether or not you want to get sick or not. I definitely think if we see another big uptick in cases, we may be asking you to mask whether you're vaccinated or not.
Love seeing Sarah's smiling face answering that question. Want to remind you, we are at your service for all questions that occur to you, big or small, because the bottom line is, if you're wondering about something in Colorado, chances are there are other people wondering as well. So, next time you're curious about something, grab your phone, record your question, either as a video or a voice memo, and send it to us. Email it to next@9news.com, I watch every one, or send it our way on social media. We'll find an answer for you, and we'll share it here for anybody else who is curious about the same thing.
What a beautiful spring day in Colorado. Yes, partly cloudy, a couple of high base thunderstorms, but look at the temperatures. 83 in Denver, that's 10 degrees above average, with almost 90 down south. Big blocking ridge to our east, storm system developing off to the west, but southerly winds. That means just enough moisture for a couple of high base thunderstorms tonight and again tomorrow. And the moisture will be increasing across western Colorado, where an exceptional drought continues to play out. We have just another beautiful day coming up here in Denver and along the Front Range heading into the weekend. Temperatures overnight in the lower 50s. Friday's high back at 81. Good chance of thunderstorms with some rain Saturday afternoon, and then temperatures warming for Sunday and Monday. Can't rule out a storm each day during the extended period, but there's no snow in that forecast.
I can't remember last time that it has rained like it has for the last couple weeks. But wait till you see what this taste of Seattle did for the drought in parts of Colorado, while there's a whole other area of our state as dry as it's ever been. And let's head up Clear Creek.
I was thinking this morning, like, you know, these trout have no idea what's going to happen to them.
A teacher tries to keep two things alive: kids' love of nature and the mess load of fish they left to him during remote learning. Next. I want to show you a really clear view that shows how our recent rain has helped the drought situation east of the divide, and just how little rain has fallen on the western slope as Denver got drenched. It's a before and after view from the U.S. Drought Monitor last week to this week, and you can watch the drought conditions get pretty well wiped away from brown to yellow on the plains, and watch the red area, the extreme drought in southern Colorado, just kind of gets erased. But then you see how western Colorado's dire drought situation is pretty much unchanged. Dr. Becky Bollinger, the assistant state climatologist, shared this. She said that 48% of Colorado's land is now drought-free. That includes the Denver metro area and northeast Colorado. So creeks are running high right now, and Clear Creek suddenly also got a trout infusion this week. It was thanks to a science class from Arvada West. Students who were happy to put remote learning behind them and to finish their hands-on project.
It's really nice to be able to teach kids science while also teaching them real-world science skills. My water quality classes joined a partnership with Trout Unlimited, where we received trout eggs in October, raised the trout up until now, and then released them today. You guys were gone for a while. I had to take care of them. I didn't kill them while you guys were gone. And then when you guys came back, we didn't kill them either. And so we've got them tempered, and we will release them.
I was remote for most of the year, but Mr. Madsen kept us updated with pictures and stuff. When I got back in person, it was really cool to see how big they actually got, and see them alive, swimming around. Yeah, it's just exciting.
Can anybody tell what kind of fish this is?
That is a brown trout, sir.
Correct. It is a brown trout.
Our students haven't been able to get out and about much, and this whole school year they've been in front of computer screens throughout the year, and it's just nice to be able to get outside and do stuff.
To them, they've lived in this little glass prism for so long, and now they get to have full range of a creek. That's pretty awesome.
I like his fish shirt. An A-West field trip through the lens of our photojournalist, Brian Wendland. We're back with a question about our team's home studios and other feedback du jour next. Many of you wrote in tonight offering prayers and healing thoughts for Lincoln County Deputy Michael Hutton, who was shot this morning. We certainly echo all of those. Rich wrote in to ask, will the home offices and studios be used by the rest of the next team after the end of May? Rich, we are closing down this fireside studio next Friday, but Marshall, Anusha, and Steve will continue to work from their home studios. And Robin says, Kyle, you look fabulous in that colored coat tonight. Robin, I love your outfit tonight, too.